How much of a watch do you need to have on your wrist to get attention? Well, if attention is what you're after, then a Richard Mille RM1103 will fit the bill. You will appreciate, sir, that it's far too vulgar to discuss subjects such as money in public, so the price will be available to you on application. If sir is wishing to attract the attention of a certain lady, might we suggest this Hublot Big Bang? I'm sure that sir will find it agreeable and within budget. Wearing an ostentatious luxury watch on your wrist will certainly get you a lot of attention, but would it be the right kind of attention? What if I told you that there's a watch that draws admiring glances from fellow watch enthusiasts, and what's more, it's only around $20. Over the summer I've been wearing the F-94WA-9 DG, and even though it's a small watch with a case diameter barely measuring 33mm, it has a big wrist presence. It also draws the attention of fellow Casio enthusiasts, which I'll talk about later. What I like about it is the unusual circular mode indicator on the top right and the splashes of yellow text above and below the LCD display against the grey background. It's also available as the F-94WA-8 DG, which has a yellow circular mode indicator against a black background, and the text is in grey. I recently read the book Fight Club, and wearing the F-94 made me feel like the main protagonist, Tyler Durden, in the story. In one of the chapters of the book, Tyler inadvertently comes across other members of the Fight Club while he's going about his daily business. Although he doesn't know them personally, he can tell that they're members due to their bruised and battered faces. And they come from all walks of life, whether they be hospital porters, solicitors, waiters, or even policemen. Wearing the F-94W is very similar to this scene, because you come across other guys that are members of the Casio Club. I say guys because nearly 100% of this channel's audience are men. As an example, one day I was queuing up to get my morning coffee before work when a voice behind me says, "That's a nice watch, what kind of Casio is that?" I was wearing a short sleeve shirt at the time because it was summer, and so my watch was clearly visible. I turned around and told the guy that it was an F-94W. He asked me where I got it from, and for the next few minutes we had a pleasant conversation about collecting Casio watches while we waited for our coffees. Can you imagine whether a situation like this would have occurred had I been wearing a smartwatch? I don't think that a random stranger would have complimented me on the nice Apple Series 3 watch that I was wearing. And if I was wearing a Rolex GMT Master 2 and a stranger complimented me on it, I'd probably be looking back to make sure that he wasn't following me after I'd left the shop. Don't be mistaken for thinking that the story of Fight Club is about fighting. Chuck Palahniuk, the author of Fight Club, writes in the appendix of the book that basing it on a club for fighting was an arbitrary decision. He had to make it provocative in order to get people's attention and to get sales. When the book was first released back in 1996, he mentions that there were books for women that presented a social structure for them to be together, to tell their stories, and to share their lives. But no books like this existed for men. So he wrote Fight Club to give men the structure and the rules of a game or task without being too touchy-feely. And this is analogous to what collecting Casio watches does. We may have different collecting strategies, but we are all united in our liking for Casio watches. I know that Casio collectors are a passionate bunch, and I enjoy reading your comments, where you will defend your A158s or your AE1200s as being the best watches in the world. My current strategy for collecting is to get models from their standard range, and if I can get hold of a model that's not sold in my geographical territory, then that's a bonus. Cheap Casio watches have exploded in popularity over the recent years that the Japanese have invented a word for this category. They call it Chipukashi. Anyone with a Casio watch can join Chipukashi Club. Have an F-91W? Welcome to Chipukashi Club. New members are joining every day. In my opinion, collecting cheap Casios is as wholesome an activity as you can get. They provide enjoyment for the wearer, and if you get addicted, it's not going to bankrupt you or cause a danger to your health. By varying the Casio that you wear, you may be able to influence other members with what watch they should get next, or at least give them an idea. The F-94W has the same form factor as the F-91W and is about the same size. However, it's not as ubiquitous as the F-91W, and I appreciate it for that. The strap is exactly the same as the F-91 and made of polyurethane. It's flexible and has an almost rubbery feel to the touch. The build quality of the case is typical for Chipukashi models and is made of resin, as is the crystal, which does protrude slightly on the surface. But any scratches which you may incur from day-to-day wearing are easy to buff out. On the home screen, the time display can be switched between 12 and 24-hour formats and is helpfully indicated by the mode dial. The F-94W also comes with a single daily alarm and an hourly signal, which you can set to have one or both on. There is also a stopwatch with split time that can measure with 1/100th of a second accuracy. You might think that this is not a big deal, but my more expensive G-Shock GBD200 only has a stopwatch with 1 second accuracy, so in this instance, cheaper is better. Finally, here's a shot of the backlight. All I'm going to say about this is that it has one. If you're already a collector of Chipukashi watches, then carry on with your journey and share your ideas with other like-minded individuals. These watches aren't status symbols or displays of wealth, but they do provide enjoyment for a small outlay. And maybe you too can start your own Chipukashi Club.